Well, our next guest in the studio is renowned for his expertise in corporate, commercial and white-collar crimes. Well, that's a bit exciting and juicy, isn't it? Knowing the ins and outs of some of the high-powered people in the UAE. He does specialise in mergers and acquisitions, M&A and complex liability cases, and he's a very distinguished lawyer currently serving as the head of corporate at Mohamed Al Suwaidi Advocates and Legal Consultants. And it's our great pleasure to have Vishal Tinani returning to the Talk 100.3 studios. Thank you very much for coming in.
My pleasure.
We'll actually get you to come nice and close to that microphone so everyone can hear exactly what you got to say. Thank you for coming in and joining Kitch and Neeil this afternoon. You're experienced in so many ways, but here in Dubai, how does it differ, specifically when you've got the capital Abu Dhabi? How does the criminal procedure differ in Abu Dhabi compared to other Emirates, especially during sort of filing in that investigation process?
Dubai and Abu Dhabi are quite different in respect of filing the cases, especially criminal cases. For example, if there is an immediate attention required from the authorities, you can go directly file the case with the police officer. But with the financial crimes and corporate crimes, this type of cases, you have to prepare a expert report. You have to submit this to the prosecution in Abu Dhabi to get it approved. Then they can send it to the police station for investigation. But in Dubai, you can directly approach the police officer for the investigation. Then the case will be transferred to the prosecution for the final judgment and the hearing. And in fact, in Sharjah as well. So first you have to approach the public prosecution, then to the police station. So there is an additional layer before you file the case in Abu Dhabi and Sharjah.
This is interesting. I mean, so these are some of the aspects of life that generally people would not know. But you've been in this field for a very long time. Your experience is very varied. Having said that, I'm sure that the way any country grows, with that grows the challenges and the challenges of financial crimes. How safe does one feel whenever they are doing any financial transaction from a legal perspective, knowing that there is enough and more support coming in from the authorities here?
So Dubai is, and in fact, all over UAE there are financial regulations, authorities in place. You have DFSA, you have SCA, you have Central Bank, you have ADGM. So there are quite amount of regulatories herein where individual financial broker or financial company who are dealing in the banking transactions, they should be registered over there. If they are not registered, then you have to first check with the particular regulatory, and if they are claiming to be registered, that's fine. You can proceed. You can deal with them. You can invest your money. But nowadays, what's happening here in UAE is you can come across a lot of insurance brokers. Or the financial brokers, they claim to be registered, they claim to be regulated, but they are not. Ultimately, there are certain companies registered back in Cayman Island, Marshall Island, and they just take the advertising license from the authorities and they market on that basis that we can take the funds. But you have to check that.
I agree with you, because there was one of the financial institutions very recently that took away about a few million dollars of people's money, and then just absolutely disappeared from the face of this country. Similarly, there is a license being revoked of another exchange as we speak. These regulatory bodies, whenever anyone is looking to invest in any of these financial institutions, one will do their due diligence, whatever little they can, because a common man who's investing probably 1,000 dirhams, 2,000 dirhams every month will not have that bandwidth to actually go deep into the annals of all of these things and try and understand that, is it really based in Cayman Islands, or is it based here, or how is it? So what are the fact checks that one needs to do before investing in any such financial institutions?
First of all, if they are claiming they are registered, then you should go to that particular authority to check it. You can easily check it.
Okay.
Secondly, you have to see the contract. What they do nowadays in the contract, they just put a clause and make a reference to the company which is outside UAE.
Okay.
So if it is outside UAE, you should avoid signing that agreement. Okay, you should put a jurisdiction of UAE and the liability of that particular broker or that financial institution in respect of recovery. So you can easily recover that amount. So this is a basic due diligence that you have to do in respect of contract and finding out where they are registered.
Well, I mentioned to someone that we're speaking to you, Vishal, and they said, he's a legend. And they said, ask about the case you won against a hotel chain for a ladder that was a bit faulty.
Yeah, so one of my client visited a multinational hotel. There was a staircase just next to the swimming pool. So it broke down and he fell down from like 5 feet 5.5
Okay.
feet,
Yeah.
and he incurred damages and a lot of scratches on the face, and yeah, he's at a good position.
Mhm.
So one day he was discussing with me, this is what happened to me in this hotel. I said, okay, go and file the premises liability case. He told me that, Vishal, this is not possible in UAE. I said, this is possible.
Okay.
Go and file the case. So we sent the notice. Actually, this type of hotels, they do have the commercial general liability policies in place which take care of premises liability, product liability. So ultimately we recovered a good money for him for the premises liability.
You know, I mean, Gujaratis generally are the ones in the US and all who are people are scared of Gujaratis because they always say "su kare che," and the moment they say "su kare che," or everyone over there starts getting scared of them because they're talking about probably suing them. But is that the same concept which probably hasn't been explored here in the UAE, which is so prevalent in some of the Western countries like US, UK, that people could just sue you for anything that you say, do, or even perceive of that could threaten a person?
Definitely, but when it comes to the product liability, premises liability, this type of cases, it has to be a good evidence.
Okay.
For example, one of my client, he imported certain chemicals and supposed to be used in stilt.
Okay.
Outcome was a stilt wing that has to be used in the aircraft. So ultimately it damaged that final product.
Okay.
So the actual value of the chemical was around 15-16 million, but the final product was way
True.
beyond that. So we filed the case that for the financial damages, and we recovered that amount as well.
But I mean, you see that. I know that they often talk about how America is litigious like that. Australia has gone that way where I'm from. But then it also can unfortunately go too far where there's a lot of things like music festivals and events that just get cancelled because the insurance is too expensive. You know, because they've got to factor in, someone's going to trip on a crack somewhere. And, you know, unlike the cases you're taking on, people that are just sort of, you know, using the system.
Yeah.
Can you see the UAE? And that's never a good thing. Are we becoming like that culturally here in the UAE?
We are becoming more knowledgeable in respect of legalities, and there was the law and there are the liabilities in place that should be taken care of. So courts in UAE are quite vigilant nowadays, so you can bring up this type of cases as well for your recoveries.
It's a very you know, back in India, you know, growing up, one would never want to be in any kind of a periphery of a lawyer, a police guy, courts, because you'd be scared.
Yeah.
Right? And probably that was a perception driven. But growing up and starting once you start working, you realize that you know, these people are your support system. You may not need them for most of the part of life, but when something goes wrong, especially when something goes wrong, they should be your first point of contact. Is it true here also the perception drives and keeps people away from lawyers?
I'll agree on that point, but I'll tell you something. Here in UAE, people get scared when they receive the call from the police station.
True.
Either for maybe because of some scam, or maybe they are just scared. They don't want to go and attend an investigation. This is one of the biggest mistake that they do. Ultimately, one of my client, she failed attending the investigation for almost 20 days.
Okay.
And she was traveling and she was stopped at the immigration.
Oh.
So in fact, the case is quite small, but if you are not attending, so the outcome will be bigger than that.
When it comes down to some of the recent cases that you've worked for or scenarios that you've handled, what have some have been your learning insights in sort of the change in the landscape in the UAE?
It's changing quite in respect of financial crimes, all this matter, and UAE is quite tough, and they are bringing the AI-driven technology as well, and all the systems are quite connected. All the Emirates are quite connected. So if you have a judgment in Abu Dhabi, definitely the Dubai system will reflect that.
Right.
And as far as the other things are concerned, that are the petty crimes, so you have to be vigilant by yourself. For example, one of my client I just recently represented, our law firm represented that she gave the access of UAE pass, and the guy submitted a fake ijari.
Okay.
And she was charged for that. Unless we attend and defend her that this was not her mistake. So I'll suggest that you have to be quite sure what you are sharing, your details, Emirates ID, UAE pass. So these are the small things that you have to take care of. Otherwise, you have a good system, a robust system in place which can take care of you and your company as well.
Which is so true, I mean, when you say that
Yeah.
we have a good system, and that system also instills that kind of fear, if I don't know if that's the right term, to not commit any crimes, right? I mean, there are, and I'll give you very small examples,
Yeah.
things that you probably would go, unbelievable in probably, in most of the countries. Like, you keep your phone, you keep your wallet on the table in a cafe, and you go to the washroom. There are hundreds of people around there, but no one will touch your valuables, no one will touch your things. They will stay as is. It's not just because all of a sudden we have come to this country and we become good human beings, but probably it's also the fear of the persistent law that one does not want to indulge into any of such activities.
Yeah, it's the execution system, by the way. So your judiciary is working fine. Your execution should be of that level also. Okay. So in UAE, the execution has been really great, and population plays a good role.
Right.
Okay. So if it is a highly populated country, then your execution system. Okay. If you divide it, one police officer looking after 1 million.
True.
So this type of things, and it is highly regulated at the same time. Good technology. So these things are taken care of, and there is always a sense of understanding people who are coming to UAE, and there is a perception UAE is tough when it comes to crime. So it is ranked second safest. Dubai is ranked second safest city among Abu Dhabi, Ajman. So the science is there all over UAE. The perception is there.
Definitely there. Now, one is that, where you're talking about physical aspects of, your valuables and all of that. The other aspect is, which we probably experience on a daily basis, is people trying to get into the online scams and trying to swindle away money from your bank accounts by posing as police guys or diva people or whatever. What is, and how does one then file in a report from a judicial standpoint, from a legal standpoint, if they are scammed? Does it all fall on them because they handed out their own OTP?
When it comes to the banking transaction, yes, it falls on them.
Okay.
But they have to report these crimes. And as far as other scammers are concerned, when they send you WhatsApp messages, you have to immediately report it to the police.
Okay.
And if you are not reporting, if you are taking your good time, maybe like 2-3 months, and they are constantly harassing you, sending you the message, that it's your fault.
Interesting.
Look, it's fascinating. We could talk to you all day, but given you are a lawyer, it's 15-minute billables. So we've got to be careful. Vishal Tinani, the the head of corporate at the Mohamed Al Suwaidi Advocates and Legal Consultants. Thank you very much for coming in and sharing your knowledge and expertise.
My pleasure.